So, the fire badgers do a decent job of tanking actually. And they got rid of the chaff fairly effectively, but not all effectively. There simply isn't enough of them yet. More wasps are pushing in and my chaff is getting cleared. However, it's looking a lot more stable right now. Every turn, I'm losing less, it feels like at least. Scorpion is finally doing some really juicy hits on these very Scorpion counterable units, the Typhoons. However, I already have no more anti-air. So this ends up being a loss of a turn anyway. But at the very least I get a tower debuff, and under that tower debuff I'm able to deal with the shields my opponent has. Unfortunately, I don't get the missile on the other side, let alone more of these Stormcallers. Still a loss, still a bunch of damage, and I'm running out of health. It's not that I'm losing turns super bigly and I'm dead next turn, most likely. But it really felt like I was just slowly being suffocated turn or round after round after round after round. My opponent takes photon emission. I'm looking at this. I'm not sure what I took. I took the Rhino Assault. Okay. Ah, yeah, I remember what I wanted to do here. I dropped the Rhino here in order to go after the tower. And then I also, you will see in a moment, I already dropped them here. I also drop a bunch of crawlers, I think. Yeah, exactly. So the idea is that the crawlers spawn here, the missile goes after them, the Rhino moves in, but my opponent is both dropping a bunch of crawlers here and deploying a sentry missile. So the chances of success are slim at best. On the main side of things, I kept leveling these Arclights, by the way. They were still doing a decent amount of damage. I'm starting to drop more fortresses, and they have punch. So they will, hopefully, do some really fat connections, because my opponent's units are very clustered. I also sold the Scorpion. It kinda serves the same purpose as the Rocket Punch. But, of course, the Rocket Punch is something I have here. And since I need to counter the Wasps now, I have dealt with most other things. I'm dropping some Mustangs simply for that job. I was relying on these Fangs exclusively. Now, that part of the strategy works out, but the rest does not. Rhino stops just short of the missile and gets swarmed by crawlers. My opponent's units here are pushing in. And, we should see some rockets soon, yeah. This one goes into chaff. There is still some chaff left. A bunch of rockets got wasted. There's also shields on the Typhoons. I think that's new. But multiple rockets, or rocket punches, take care of that. This side was unsuccessful. The Wasps still pushed through because they were hiding behind everything else. And in the end, I lose by a significantly higher margin than I did before. Now there's one level 3 crawler here that could actually level to level 4, but that is a level 2 tower. And even so, what could it have even hoped to accomplish? 703 health, and yeah, it's not looking good. That said, I got to a decent amount of fortresses, and in high enough quantities, it sometimes feels like fortresses counter everything that exists. Rhino, on my opponent's side, I take the Marksman. I need to start putting some rounds into stuff from afar, I think. My opponent is pushing in with the Rhino here. Iron Beam, by the way, comes back, or Iron Blast. I'm sorry, I'm not pronouncing, I'm saying it wrong anyway. But I have some really high health shields here. So while it will definitely impact the shields, it should no longer do so catastrophic damage that I lose. Hopefully. And we will see what happens. I'm leveling this tower, and that was a good decision in my opinion. My opponent, of course, Iron Beams. No, Iron Blasts. Why am I like that? I'm trying to set up a bit of a different Iron Blast this time around. He also oils, and he got EMP and Launcher Overload. What kind of new units did he drop anyway? Ah, who cares? These crawlers still exist. He throws down a bunch of missiles. He also has a missile on this side since the early game, I think. He tries to clear the path of the Rhino. These crawlers, I think, are new, but that's just standard to clear your Rhino's path with a missile. However, that's a level 4 tower, so it's not gonna do too much, hopefully. There's some new crawlers coming in here, but these crawlers are level 3. They will take care of the level 2 crawlers and hopefully push through further. The Iron Blast is eating the shields, but not the actual units. There is a 3-second debuff coming in, but I still have most of my fortresses alive, and the enemy chaff has burned. Yeah, I was taking advantage of the oil, and the fire badgers were doing a lot as well. EMP is definitely going in, but most of the stormcrawlers are dead. There's some more crawlers pushing in from the rear though. One stormcrawler left, tower debuff momentarily, and this time it's a big one. It is a very slow fight, and now these units turn around. And in the end, with a sliver of health, the Rhino wins yet again, and I am down another couple hundred points. And next up is an Iron Blast that I cannot counterblast in any way. So things are starting to look really, really bad. Heavy armor or electromagnetic blast. In theory, I could have tried to get cute with a missile strike or something, but it wasn't really worth it. But I'm looking at fortresses, and a speed specialist would have been my pick if I had replayed this, but I picked... Oh yeah, I wanted to disable a bunch of stuff and weaken these barriers, because all of these barriers I can break with the Iron Blast. It does 35,000 damage, and these shields have in total 24,000 per unit, and the blast I think will take out all of these 4 shields here. He also Iron Blasts, weakens my fortress shields, and then he electromagnetic I'm mixing this up so terribly right now. Anyway, since the fortress here is not going to accomplish much at this tower, he's trying to maneuver it over here. Iron Blast is coming in, as well as electromagnetic impact. And I have a lot of combat powers directed onto this set of fortresses. He also puts range on the steel balls. I guess that makes sense. He buys out, gets all the temporary upgrades. He wants to finish it right now. And I would not be different. Look at the amount of stuff, the amount of combat powers my opponent has. Oh, actually, I didn't see it correctly. My opponent burned his own chaff with the oil. I'm not sure why. He also has some distraction crawlers over here. He uses missiles continuously here, but it's not going to be for too many turns. In the end, this Rhino is going to be a really sad fellow, because it's being shot at by 5 levels worth of fortress and some other stuff. So now the Iron Blast has passed, and I still had some shields left over. Enemy units are being popped, and the shields are down, but also the enemy shields are down. Now I have a total of 8 levels of... No, actually it's more. This is a level 4 one. I have a total of 9 levels of fortresses moving in on some Stormcrawlers. And this is where I actually finally take a turn, despite having an Iron Blast directed to my army on their heads. This is basically the fruition of what I set in motion back at the time where I wanted the... where I went and got the senior manufacturing specialist. All the way in turn 3 or so it was. Everyone goes for smoke, which is certainly dangerous. My plan here is I'm rebuying the Scorpions. I want to break through his shields quickly. And because I was not sure if one Scorpion double shot can do it, or one Scorpion shot can do it, I went for double shot immediately. It's not bad into this board anyway. My opponent is going for EMP missiles and for range on some melters, because this is desperation on my opponent's side. Don't get me wrong. He has wasps again, but what are the wasps really going to accomplish much in this specific case? This tower is level 5 now. Even if he takes it, it's not gonna be worth much. He deploys it defensively instead, expecting that maybe I still go after this juicy level 2 tower. I honestly think if I were to go after anything, I would try to flank like here at this point, distract some Stormcaller shots because he's putting them really exposed. I didn't even notice that. He still is trying to mobile beacon into this tower for whatever reason. Anyway, some smoke lands because of the Scorpion hits. This area, of course, is entirely smoked. And now the fortresses are starting to really show what they're made of. They start cracking shields. There is some chaff left, unfortunately, that I can't get rid of. But I have so much fortress firepower and I have the Scorpions to back it up that the boys are moving in. And they are not asking politely to be let in. They are taking out the Stormcallers, the marksmen. Since the Stormcallers have less range, the marksmen are actually pretty good. And it ends up being quite an army of fortress that is moving in. There's one wasp back here that the marksmen are going to take out. And that is how it ends in turn number 10. Yeah. Boy. That was... The double Iron Blast drop is scary. Because I didn't mirror it. I could have mirrored it. I probably could have gotten a lot of value with these Stormcallers. Like these are level 4 and 5, level 4 and 5 Stormcallers. Taking them out would have been real juicy. Taking the Wasps out as well. The Melters also relatively exposed. The Typhoon's shields could not stand up to that. But I chose a different route. And it did work in the end. But I'm honestly not sure I could make it work in any way against a more experienced opponent. The Scorpion shot here also was pretty nice. It allowed, if you can look at it, it allowed some of the smoke to land here. And I think there's also a bit of smoke here, if I'm not mistaken. Which means that Stormcallers had nerfed range here. At least some of the Stormcallers. And they had to move up a bit. And it's things like that that can win you a match or not. Because, well, if a bit more chaff and a fortress dies, then we're on to the next turn. Though, to be honest, I wouldn't be that scared of the next turn anymore. I think I have outgrown my opponent's units here. Well, in any case, thank you very much for watching and listening. And until next time.